Hello, everyone. Hopefully you're all doing well. This timing accidentally could not have been better because goofiness all abound. So the Games Workshop article, I'm just getting right into it. Actually, wait, I should say on socials that we're live. Fuck.
So while you're doing that, I will quickly step in and say that our timing could not have been better. We were just sitting here discussing with each other about the joys of Tiger Men hitting, and full disclosure, I love tigers. So I have somewhat of a vested interest in this one. And we're going, and it's doing this and doing that, and just noodling over all the cool little details. And just as we're doing that, we're going, maybe Warhammer community might have posted something. Turns out, not only did they post something, but they posted something pretty goddamn nice. Have you got it over there and ready to go, or have you only got the Total War article ready to go?
No, I've got both.
Yeah, bring that one up, because we deserve to open the stream with a cool fuck-off piece of art. Bring it up.
My internet's being like all kinds of bitchy.
Well, if you don't bring it up, I'll bring it up.
I've got it up. It should be up.
Okay. I don't see anything on screen.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let's see what the issue is.
Okay, we're just about to see it. Yeah, it's really nice. Their friends at Creative Assemblies, they say, are bringing to life a raft of new units for Total War Warhammer 3. And there it is, all based on designs from the rich imagination of the Warhammer Studio. And that is what the rich imagination of the Warhammer Studio has given us. Fuck off, Tiger Warrior. Look at that.
Get in here. We're live right meow.
It's an actual Warhammer thing. This is not, something
this
for a
is
completely different setting. This is Warhammer. Gosh darn it.
Yeah. Oh, now I remember what I was doing. I was posting this here. We're talking Tiger Men right now.
Sweet. So yeah, we're slightly discombobulated because we were intending on just doing the stream over on the Creative Assembly blog and discussing everything that it offers, and it does offer some really interesting insights. But yeah, we got kind of excited, lost track of everything because something new got posted up, and we are children who get very excited over new Warhammer things. Take a look at that bad boy.
Oh my god, they look so good! They look so good! Oh my god. Okay, so I'm all cut up now. All right, so we're not gonna waste any time. We're just gonna dive into this article and see what it has to offer. So we've got concept art, which looks they look amazing. They look amazing. Let's see. Tiger Warriors of Grand Cathay are settlers who long ago found a home in Western Cathay. They're sworn to serve Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon and master of the Western provinces, but they remain wholly loyal to their chieftain Bhashiva and to their god Kamau. They stand apart from the people of Grand Cathay, maintaining their own traditions and military structures, and legends tell that they were created in the distant past by the Old Ones. And there's Bhashiva, the desert tigress.
The white tiger.
Which is... Oh, wow, that's literally all they say.
That's what we've got.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I expected... okay, so...
Okay, cool. So, as it turns out, this episode is going to be mostly about the Total War article.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Tiger Men have been in the Warhammer setting for a long time, and I do mean a long time. Now, if you're anything like my wife, you will immediately go, Tiger Men? Couldn't they have called them something else? And I do think it's worth calling this out because this is the language of Warhammer from around about 20 to 30 years ago, where normally nowadays they tend to avoid doing lizard men, beast men, tiger men, because it's a bit shit, and it's kind of also steeped in old unexpected sexism. And I half expected them to do something like, oh, here's our new updated one, and we've called them like the Bag Lug or something like that. As in it's something a bit more Hindi based, or something a bit more Indian, Bangladeshi, or something down in that part of the world. But no, they're just Tiger Men.
Well, okay, to be fair, they're called Tiger Warriors. I don't think they actually use the term Tiger Men anywhere.
Yeah, I think they do. If you go to the Total War one. Yeah, the Total War one, I'm pretty sure says Tiger Men in a couple of places.
Tiger Warriors.
Let's find out. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, then I will retract and say Tiger Warriors. Yes, I'll take it.
We can pop
it's not the most
GW
imaginative of names. It's like, hey, we've got warriors that look like tigers. What will we call them? Wait, I think it's time for a committee because we really need to come up with something original.
Yeah, like GW, I hope they have their own term in their own like language for what they're called. Okay, so here we have the actual CA article, which gives significant. The only thing that it has that the GW one doesn't, or the only one the GW one has that this one doesn't, is the new concept art, which is very nice. And thank you for that, GW. Even though that I was expecting a bit more, but I will
admit it was the simplest of blog entries. Here's a picture. Here's a copy paste from a tiny bit of the Total War article. Go.
Honestly, that felt like the most we're here too thing I've seen from them. All right, so we're just gonna, I guess, go through this.
Yeah, go through it paragraph by paragraph, and if anything interesting for each paragraph comes up, we can discuss it out.
Yeah, that's fine. So I will say there is the fact that we got Tiger Warriors before Felinids is very funny.
It really is, isn't it?
That is genuinely hilarious to me. All right, so we have just sort of skipping over like the stuff that's not super important. It's the 10th anniversary. Yep. So before we get that, we get down to the first big drop, which is that we're getting the first character pack for Total War Warhammer, and we're getting working in concert with Games Workshop. We have the arrival of Bhashiva, the Desert Tigress, the White Tiger of Shangyang, which we will find out in a little bit is not just a normal tiger or a normal title. It is something awfully specific.
You're right. I'm not seeing any mention here at all of Tiger Men. I'm pretty happy, actually, so far at least. Let's just hope that's the case.
Yeah. So we can skip all of the like little this is blah, 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 money stuff. It's a nice little cheap pack. We've got the art.
I think it's quite nice. I think it's worth mentioning just so that we see exactly what they're adding.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So we are getting, we're getting for £3.99 or $4.99 or €4.99. You are looking at Bhashiva as your new legendary lord, who's going to be dual wielding these two kick-ass weapons, which are called, what are these things called?
It's right down at the bottom, as I recall.
Twin Kataras. We have the Katara blades, which look awesome.
Big fist blades.
Yep. And I've already seen people posting memes of the Arbiter from Halo with the energy blades. Yeah, but she looks incredible. I will say I am not super surprised, but I am a little bit pleasantly surprised that Games Workshop did not World of Warcraftify the tiger ladies and make them have big titties. So good job on refraining yourselves.
I think this deserves a little bit of extra time, and I've just realized what my hand gesture is. Because the natural the natural inclination of almost all artists appears to be, if they're female, give them big tits. If they're male, give them big pecs, and that's what we'll do. Where if you actually look at often the species that they're using as the inspiration, that's just as far from reality as you can get. And they have not gone there at all, because that right there is a female tiger warrior. Oh, yes.
Do love it. All right, so but we're also getting a Lord, which I think we actually have a little sneak peek picture of from a leak a while back that we'll take a look at in a bit, but you can't, it's very, very, we'll just say we're struggling for pixels. We also have the hero, which we see further down, which is the claw speaker, which is super interesting. I'm really interested to speak about that.
I'm looking forward to it as well, but might I just say, a dear Creative Assembly, please take some time for world building. Claw speaker, really.
Hold on. This isn't CA's fault. It's GW's fault.
Dear Games Workshop, when you are inspiring Creative Assembly, please give them better names, because we have a vast well of awesome, super cool cultures you could be drawing from here and adapting and bringing the best of them to the world. But instead you went for, well, tigers have claws, and these are tiger warriors who speak. And they're doing magic, which involves claw speakers. I've had a genius idea.
True that.
Oh.
And then we get 3 additional units. We don't know anything about them yet. There's, I think, in the original leak, there were 3 distinct types of Tiger Warriors, so it could be that. But we'll see what comes from that. And then there's also a free legendary hero that'll come with it. Probably a Cathayan hero, but we're not sure.
Do you know what that is yet? Because I've no idea what that is yet.
So legendary hero will be like it'll be like how they've treated Lord Croak or Ariel or those other characters. It's probably this guy called, I think he's called like Tao Yun, and he's like a human warrior of Cathay. It seems to be what we'll be looking at, but let's get into the juicy part, which is the lore. That's what we're actually
looking forward to.
All right, so first thing we have is, who is Bhashiva? We have, as the head of the Tiger Court, Bhashiva stands as one of the mighty lords of Shangyang, a mercenary sovereign to whom every Tiger Warrior commander ultimately bends the knee. Though she bears the revered title of White Tiger, hers is only the latest chapter and a legacy far older than her name.
Okay, so good start. For those of you who don't know, Shangyang, most western gigantic city over in Grand Cathay. And standing as a mighty lord of that city really does suggest that she's got a station of some significant political influence.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about Shangyang in particular is that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, though, is that it is very much a city. It is one of the great cultural melting pots of Grand Cathay. It's Shangyang, and then Baisai, or I think it's Baisai, which is the naval port. But this Shangyang is the end of the Ivory Road, and like that entire great journey. So there's a whole bunch of different groups and races and species that all live in the city together. That because it's this great city at the very edge of the Warpstone Desert, where Zhao Ming rules over it as the great dragon of the West. And he has Fu Chao. Yeah, I don't know why I said Baisai. But yeah, Fu Chao. It's one of the things that's really, really interesting is that this seems very much to indicate, we'll see more of this as we go further down, that the lords of Shangyang are not all quote unquote Cathayan humans. Some of them are, in this case, a tiger warrior. It's likely there are ogres among them, as well as potentially other different creatures, which is really interesting. All right, next
cool.
We have.
I have one other thing to say as well.
Yes.
When the White Tiger definitely doesn't sound like the Black Panther at all. Just so we're clear. And it doesn't sound like this hereditary passed on title that appears at important times or anything similar has any relation in the slightest. It doesn't sound vaguely derivative.
Nope.
Nope. Not at all.
And I will say I do love that the Cathayan the Cathayan special character version of the Tiger Warrior is a white tiger, being based on kind of the I know in America for a long time when I was growing up as a kid, like Americans, we were obsessed with the Siberian tiger. That for us we'd always imagine it being the white tiger. But we have the next 2 paragraphs, which I'll just go ahead and do together because they're just part of the same story. Which actually no, we'll do them one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time.
Yeah. So the next one. So continuing on with what the white tiger. Hold on. White tigers, Siberian tigers aren't even white. We were American. We were stupid. It was the zoo. They always had a white tiger on display. And
I'm so glad he said it because I'm just sitting here going, wow.
No, white tiger. I'm not saying we were smart. All right. I'm just saying that, like, when I think Far East tiger, I think white tiger. All right. So we've got here we've got the first white tiger carved her destiny in heroic fashion, guiding the Highland tribes across the towering mountains of heaven, through blistering western deserts, and into the lands ruled by the Iron Dragon Zhao Ming. There she swore fealty to the Western Master, forging a bond that has endured for centuries. Each new white tiger rises to the mantle of the last, renewing ancient oaths and stepping into a legacy older than most kingdoms. So there's a couple things in this that we can immediately grab out as being super interesting. The one that I find the most interesting, the thing that I find the most interesting is we get a little bit of a timetable here of that when the first White Tiger came to Cathay, the Warpstone Desert already existed.
Yeah, which I find interesting.
Yeah, so which, granted, the Great Maw was formed a long fucking time ago, like before Sigmar.
It's like 2,300 years before Sigmar.
Yeah,
something like that off the top of my head.
Yeah, so that's still like a almost 5,000 year gap that the White Tiger could have come over. The other thing that's interesting, of course, and we'll see this reinforced a little later in the article, is that the first White Tiger did not lead over all the Tiger Warriors. She only led over what are known as the Highland tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning the tribes that lived in like the foothills of the mountains.
Yeah, totally. So my only addition to this section, as I reread it again, the first White Tiger, and then leading them over, is to just confirm for those of you out there that don't understand the whole Warpstone Desert reference, and I'd make sure it's nice and clear. The Warpstone Desert was formed by an event that happened in Grand Cathay when a great, massive Warpstone chunk was pulled down from the heavens by Grand Cathay into the center of what would become the Ogre Kingdoms, creating the great god mass that is the Maw. If you want to know more about that, go check our video on the Maw, because we dive deep into exactly what the Maw is there. And it does date this event perfectly.
Oh, that's cool. The White Tiger in Chinese mythology is known as Baihu, the guardian deity. Okay, so this is
nice.
Tapping into a myth, it sounds like.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Yes.
Appreciate it.
And we'll see here that each new White Tiger rises to the mantle of the last, renewing ancient oaths that, I'll just read the next paragraph, because the next paragraph is the holy shit moment for me.
Yep.
No records exist of how many champions have risen, champions referring to the White Tigers. What is certain is this: the White Tiger appears whenever the tides of chaos surge. Each time they take up the mantle, they once again lead their people into the heart of the Ever-Chosen's armies, driving the Tiger Warriors straight into the storm. Through these countless cycles, the White Tiger achieved what few beings of any age can claim: to have stood in battle against both Azavar Kul and Archaon.
So there's an interesting bit of double speak here. So we've got there's no records exist of how many have risen. That's fair. And the next section saying quite clearly that the White Tiger will definitely pop up whenever an Ever-Chosen pops up equally on the Chaos side. And we know that happens by the end of the world 13 times, which means that we can, to a degree, say that there's been probably at least 12 of them. Yeah, maybe 11, somewhere around that area, given that depending on which version of the background you go with, the very first Ever-Chosen was Morcar in both versions, and he was either fighting during the Cataclysm, right at the very start of the world, the very first Ever-Chosen trying to take out the world, or alternatively, the first Ever-Chosen in we've rewritten all the background to make Sigmar special, made Sigmar face off against the first Ever-Chosen as Morcar just 2,500 years before the world goes boom. In one version, you get 13 Ever-Chosens over a very long period of time. In the other version, you get 13 Ever-Chosens squeezed into a very short period of time. This piece of background, rather interestingly, sort of suggests the older one. Because if they were really tying it to the cycles of chaos, that cycle of chaos, if we go with the newer version of the background from 8th edition and around about that, it's really from about 2006-ish onwards, 5-ish perhaps, somewhere around there. That version of the background starts those cycles at the year 0 imperial calendar. It's only 2,500 years, which means they would have records of all of it, because that's deep into the deep bureaucracy of Cathay. Grand Cathay, by this point, is an ancient empire with deep bureaucracy that would track this with ease. This suggests it's older. So there is a loose suggestion here that Morcar may no longer be the first Ever-Chosen alongside Sigmar.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Like the counter argument I could see is that we know the first White Tiger doesn't show up until after the Great Maw hits the Earth. But when they talk about it, they seem to very much be implying that the first White Tiger is pre the Empire, which would mean Morcar by definition is, well, the Sigmar Morcar is not the first ever chosen.
Yeah, indeed.
Which would make so much sense. It would make so much sense.
It's the story we went with in Lorehammer, for example. In Lorehammer and the way we've pitched the adventure.
Let Morcar the Uniter be different than the first ever chosen. Let them be two different people, please, God.
That would be totally fine. And the next part that I found really interesting in this one, I've forgotten what I was about to say. Straight into the Storm. It's kind of the cycles. It doesn't say the White Tigers, it says the White Tiger, suggesting that the current White Tiger has stood against both Azavar Kul and Archaon. So it's not so much we've got a different one for each age, because it sort of half suggests it might be the same one, which is why they call out those two. Yeah, because there's a lot more interesting Everchosens than just those two.
Yeah, I mean, I would say though that like combining the three paragraphs, they seem to be using the title of White Tiger as just a singular concept.
I have one last thing to say in this, and I remember what I was going to say properly this time, which is Old World. They're clearly saying we're going to have White Tiger in the Old World.
Yep, and it's what probably
Azavar Kul is the Everchosen for the Old World setting, which means we're going to get a plastic version of this probably within the next 4 years.
Yep, and I'd be willing to bet it's not going to be Bhashiva. It's going to be a different White Tiger.
If it's a different White Tiger, great. If it's the same one, equally, I think.
The other thing I'll say, and this is something that I know me and Andy are going to be so excited about, is that this is a giant fucking retcon for the end times, because it in black and white right here says that Bhashiva fights Archaon.
Yep, and that just isn't how the end times fun. The whole Eastern theater was terribly written. A few Chaos champions went over, killed everything. Oh, and let's not forget about Grimgor, who also went over and killed everything. Oh.
Yeah, so this says, nope, Archaon fought the East. Either he went down there at some point, or they came to him, or who knows what it was. But this is a huge change for them to just like fire out the hip.
Yeah, it's a big change. And as you probably know, if you've watched any of our previous Lorebeard streams, we kind of hate how the end times happened. Not that it happened. We're not one of those groups who go, the end times should never have happened. Warhammer World blowing up was a bad idea.
Yeah, it should have.
We're quite happy with it blowing up and Age of Sigmar being a thing. All the rest of it, that's cool. We weren't happy with the execution of it. But it appears Games Workshop equally is beginning to go, well, let's start massaging the details, not just from the Age of Sigmar side, where they've been rewriting the end times almost since the beginning, but now from the actual Warhammer side, where they're going, the end times that is currently written in black and white in our end times books, we're quite happy to just rewrite it when it's stupid. And the whole Eastern theater was really stupid. So this is a nice detail.
Kiri Garana said, I know you're joking, but they could legitimately do that. And I'd be like, all right, fine.
and in fact, the way that time works within the Aether, it totally could work. Equally, there's something to note, and that's that the armor of Morcar makes you look identical to Morcar.
Yes, so like Archaon, by definition, should look almost exactly like Morcar.
So if
because he's wearing the armor of Morcar.
Yeah, if you want a model for Morcar, just use Archaon, because that's the armor of Morcar.
Thank you, by the way, to Azarias and Morning to Crescent for 5 gift subs over on Twitch, because we're monetized on Twitch.
Oh,
it's happened.
We should have opened with that, shouldn't we? Yes. Yeah, so if you haven't already noticed and you're on the Twitch side, we are now properly monetized. You can subscribe to us. You can do everything over on Twitch side, which you previously couldn't because Twitch were being awful with us. We fixed it.
Yeah, and dude, Azarias, that was us, man. That was us. We were just begging Daddy to monetize us, and he finally did. Finally.
Totally.
Okay,
anyway, next paragraph.
The last thing I want to say.
Something else?
Yes, the last thing I want to say, because I think this is super duper interesting, is that the last one talking about that a White Tiger appears whenever the Tides of Chaos rise, implying that there is a cyclical, almost immune response in among the Tiger Warriors, that when the Tides of Chaos rise, which you could also, remember, keep in mind what chaos is. It also means that when enough magic surges into the world, a White Tiger is born.
Makes sense. I did find the "through these countless cycles" line quite amusing because they've been counted. There's 13.
I'm pretty. That feels to me like they're trying to be like, ooh, mysticism. And
Yeah,
it's like, guys, it's not that big of a number.
Yeah, it almost felt like something more written by AI or by someone who was trying to mythologize it, pardon me, rather than somebody who actually went, how can I best put this across? But again, this is a mythical entity, so I think it works quite well.
Yeah. I would say, you know what? If you were like talking to some random Cathayans, this is probably how they would describe it.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Okay, so then we get into some gameplay stuff, which we'll just read through real fast. So on the battlefield, Bhashiva fights exactly as the tales describe. I love that when they gave us no tales prior to this sentence, but cool.
Is it tails or is it tails? Right, let's get past the puns.
A silent shadow that closes the distance with unnerving speed before striking her prey. She excels at hunting down infantry, carving through tightly packed ranks with the blades of Shangyang, twin katana burning with the Iron Dragon's fire. Each strike not only scorches her victims, but weakens their resistance to flame, letting her plow through the fights the moment she commits. Her agility is at the core of her playstyle. She darts between threats, repositions effortlessly, and uses her mastery of stealth to pick the perfect moment to appear. I will say, I'm glad that the Tiger Warriors have stealth as a key element, because if you've ever seen tigers in the wild, to us humans, it's like, that thing's really obvious. But to most animals, they go, I can't fucking see that thing at all.
Yeah, totally. And that might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but that's because we've got eyes that differentiate quite clearly between green and red stroke orange. But to everyone else, they just sort of blend in beautifully. To us, though, we uniquely see that standout detail as danger, where other species see that standout detail as what, Tiger?
Yeah, the other thing that I really love about this is we're getting to see Zhao Ming shine a little bit more as the alchemist, the forger of weaponry, the master of warpstone. So him creating more magical items that he's giving to, I would guess, each of the lords of Shangyang, all of them, probably have a magic item that was forged for them by Zhao Ming as a gift.
Yeah, very possibly. That's quite a nice detail as well.
Yeah. Her signature item, the Heaven's Gate, builds on that stealthy identity by letting her move rapidly across the battlefield without being seen. Whether she's flanking, ambushing, or diving straight to exposed infantry lines, Bhashiva is designed to feel inevitable. A fast, merciless predator who dictates when and where the fight begins with speed, stealth, and explosive opening damage. She rewards players who think like hunters, patient in setup, ruthless in execution. And I will say, I love that they've built her in with a magic item to say, yes, we know she's a blinding white tiger that most people would go, I see you. So we gave her a magic item where she goes, nope, no, you don't.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say here other than the fighting styles that they've chosen for her are largely what one would expect. Fast, stealth, cool stuff with big fiery blades because of Zhao Ming.
All right, now here's the juiciest part. The White Tiger is a very cool concept. A lot of good stuff there, but now we have just the Tiger Warriors as a species. And boy, do they drop some bombs in here. So we have lore introduction. Who exactly are the Tiger Warriors?
Good question.
Tales say they were shaped by the Old Ones alongside many other races, dwelling primarily in the lands now known as End. After chaos swept the world and the Old Ones vanished, the Tiger Warriors were saved by their chieftain, Kamau, who defied Tzeentch and overcame the gods' schemes through sheer nobility and unwavering loyalty to his people.
That's close to a bombshell right from the very beginning. Okay, because one word in that entire paragraph just makes you go, wait, WTF? And it's the word defied.
Yeah, so we're going to skip ahead because there's a paragraph I really want to, we're going to skip ahead to another paragraph because there's a paragraph that adds into this very deeply that they separated in a weird spot. So I'm going to go ahead and skip
pull it out
to it, which is, oh gosh, where is it?
Well, how about we just get there when we get there?
No, because it's important because here it is. Okay, so combine what we just read with this. Unsurprisingly, faith also runs deep among the Tiger Warriors. Every one of them believes that without Kamal's protection, the Chaos Gods would rise to enslave their race once more.
So, what does that all say? It suggests the following. It suggests that what we wrote all the way back in the Tome of Corruption a bajillion years ago. Well,
Bloomful, thank you for the 500 cheer. They do work. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Let me just bring it up just so you can say it worked.
Yeah, StreamYard is still weird with it, but we see it.
Yeah, totally. Well, StreamYard will catch up one day, I'm sure. So it suggests that what we were discussing a bajillion years ago when we were doing the Tome of Corruption, and Rob Schwab was beavering away like mad on that, and we equated the Tiger Warriors with the Beastmen because 6th edition of Warhammer kind of did the same thing when it was discussing the different types of Beastmen around the world. And it was an easy meshing to make while simultaneously saying they might not be. It's exactly the angle taken here, which is, like the Beastmen, they appear to be creatures of chaos, but more so, their god was probably originally a chaos god who rebelled against chaos. And that is cool!
Yeah, so something I actually want to give huge props to the GW writing on this, that is it's not obvious right away for y'all probably reading it, is that this is very well worded to be genuinely difficult to parse whether they were actually an Old One creation or if legend, or if it's basically a propaganda legend saying, no, we're not chaos. We're not like those Beastmen. We're completely different. How dare you? We were made by the Old Ones. The Beastmen are foul abominations. We were saved by we were an Old One race, and they might have been. They could have been an Old One race that was genuinely enslaved after chaos showed up, or the possibly more likely scenario was that they were just Beastmen, that a splinter,
and that one of the minor chaos gods that was with them went, actually, yeah, no, Zinch, screw you guys, and helped free this particular section of the Beastmen from the rest of them. Off go the Tiger Warriors to be their own Tiger Warrior thing. The chaos gods are absolutely pissed, but they lose that war and never reclaim them again. But should that god die, or should they no longer worship said god, then the Chaos Gods are going to reach their fingers back out again and change them. Interesting that it's Zinch that's called out, because Zinch is typically the god that's associated with mutation and change, suggesting that the Tiger Warriors may even have once been human or tigers or something in between before the end times. Not the end times, pardon, before the cataclysm. So there's lots of different potential ways this could be read.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really interesting when you actually look at the Tiger Warriors, so if we look at Bhashiva, for instance, is from what we can tell in the art, actually, I can look at the GW art really quick for confirmation.
I pulled that up separately.
Yes. So the interesting thing about the Tiger Warriors, which I can confirm based on the different angles and art, they have 4 fingers. That is very unique in Warhammer Fantasy. 4 fingers there are only 2 other species that have 4 fingers: the lizardmen and the giants.
You sure they've got a full set. They've got 5. They've got 4 fingers and a thumb.
I only see 4 in the stuff I'm looking on.
Yeah, take a look at the individual the second
1, 2,
picture.
3. Oh no, they do have 5. They do have 5. You're right.
Yeah.
Man,
okay.
Yeah, they have 4 fingers and a thumb. Never mind.
So that being the case, they're more likely humanoid. And tigers do exist in the Warhammer world, as do humans. It makes it more likely they're just normal beastmen.
Yeah, so one of 2 things is the case here, both of which are awesome. Like, these are equally unique, cool stories. The first is that we have the story of an Old One race, an Old One created race that was enslaved by chaos. So chaos got them. So either Zinch got them with a bargain, like he did the dragon, or they did the dragon ogres, or they were just dominated, or they were tricked. But then one of their kind, Kamal, their chieftain at the time, who we'll learn more about later, rose up and freed them. Or the much more likely alternative is that they were a beastman species that, just like beastmen were created in the old world, and for anyone that's never read the beastman myth, beastmen were literally, when the cataclysm was unleashed, humans and animals that were close by like melded together. Some people like their inner beast became their outer form. Other animals that were like just upraised and started walking and talking like men, stuff like that.
Mhm.
That something similar happened in End, where the people and tigers fused, or the tigers evolved into men, or whatever. And
so I think it's actually fair. We can fairly state with almost no chance of being wrong that when the cataclysm began, everywhere where there were easily mutated things, they morphed into each other. That's loosely what occurs. And if there are humans down in End, and there are tigers down in End, or indeed any other easily mutated animal, there are going to be mergings, and the beastmen formed into stable species from all of these weird mergings, and rose as a single species after the cataclysm ended and magic died back down again.
And
it
remember,
seems very fair. Tiger men could be a part of that. They're tiger people, but they don't need to be.
Yeah, they don't need to be. And do keep in mind that either way, the story is fascinating, because either we have a god that freed his species from the control of chaos that kind of came in from somewhere else, or like Andy said, we quite literally have a chaos god that revolted against what chaos was doing. Which is
lots of different ways it could be interpreted.
Story too.
Yeah, all of them are great. Chaos god, just a mortal, okay, the first chieftain of them, so to speak, who rises up against them and is almost deified, Sigmar style. Or alternatively, just beastmen who fight free from the control that chaos have over them. The Chaos Children moniker, as in they are the children of chaos because they were first formed by chaos coming into the world, is both true and a lie. It doesn't mean all their souls go to chaos. There's more to it. And it's just great. This is a lovely piece of the story.
Yeah, I also love this kind of, which I'll point out more about this later, but there are some very interesting similarities between elves and tiger warriors. That we'll talk about as we get in deep. Yeah.
One comment. Do you guys think Games Workshop has an answer to this question of origin, or are they equally not sure? You typically find that most writers do have an answer to the question, but they write it in such a fashion that what they do is they provide the next generation of writers with an open door to create whatever they want to create. So you often find Warhammer writers, when they're at their best, aren't closing doors, they're opening them. So they don't definitively state what the answer is, unless the whole point of the book or the whole point of the thing at hand is to do that. And in this case, I would suggest it's one of Games Workshop's better pieces of writing, because they've added all of this myth without necessarily confirming anything.
This is one of those scenarios where you should never reveal the truth. Never. It should stay.
I'm never a never guy, because sometimes you can build a really cool roleplay story about finding out a truth.
I guess I would mean is I don't think they should put it in black and white like a Cathay Army book that like, nope, it's definitely this. I would love to let it be a little more woo.
Yeah, agreed.
But all right, next paragraph. And by the way, we are seeing all the comments. Very lovely stuff. Thank you very much. We're gonna go over all the super chats and get caught up on all that stuff at the end. Also,
we'll take all of them, so don't worry.
Quick shout out, thank you by the way to Cameo for the Prime, Seba 210 for the tier 1, Reese's Pieces for the Prime, and Jaunty Scarecrow for the Prime. Thank you all for all the subs. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, second paragraph. That is also fascinating. Following this, which is a big following this, because we're going from Cataclysm to sometime after the Great Maw, the Highland tribes were led by the first white tiger to fulfill the prophecy of leading them to salvation across the mountains of heaven into the western deserts and the lands of the Iron Dragon. Here they shaped a life and a legacy on their own terms. Their allegiance to Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, is absolute, but it exists alongside a far older devotion to the White Tiger and their god Kamau. This dual loyalty, technically a trio loyalty, gives them a culture that sits just outside the rhythms of everyday Cathayan society. They're part of the empire, certainly, but proudly marked by their own traditions and ways of war.
I really like that last part because it added some shades of grey to the altogether too black and white version that the old world presented of Cathay, where Cathay quite firmly stated in the various iterations that the hegemony of the dragons and their absolute control of society was absolute. there were no gods because gods are bad, okay? We don't use gods inside Cathay because that's for other peoples, where they're saying here, actually, no, there's lots of different cultures that are interwoven with Cathay, many of which abide by standard dragon doctrine, many of which do not for their own traditional reasons. And importantly, they are not, or at least from this perspective, don't appear to be properly put down by the dragons for their different beliefs. They're allowed to have their own culture.
So one thing that I think this reinforces that I love is this, I think, much more strongly reinforces the idea that Zhao Ming is a bit of an outlier among the Dragon Children, where we have notes from interviews I've done with Andy Hall and also some of the dialogue and text within Total War Warhammer, that Zhao Ming is kind of seen as a bit of a rebel and the crazy child among the Dragon Children, because he allows things that are illegal according to his brother Yuan Bo, who speaks with the authority of their father, where alchemists and wizards practicing metal magic, illegal, and Zhao Ming says, don't care, I have the House of Secrets in Shangyang, this is my territory, you don't get to tell me what to do. Now, the idea that he's got tiger warriors with him, and he's like, nope, I allow them to honor their traditions. They still worship their god.
And not only does he allow them to honor their traditions, their white tiger holds one of the highest places in his court. It's genuinely much more than just he allows this to happen behind, closed doors and underneath the carpet. It's open. And it really does open up Cathay as a far broader civilization than had been previously suggested, which was one that was full of indoctrination and one that stood for absolutely no contrary views. Where here we've got a very clear, not only do in some places they allow contrary views, in some places they actively promote the people who have those views. And that's good because it shows a greater depth of diversity than first thought, and also allows for more stories to be presented in Cathay that are not just the same story because the entire area is identical.
Yeah, and I am very, very pleased with how this is adding to the building tragedy of Zhao Ming. That one of the things that we've seen with Zhao is that I remember one of the quotes that we got about him was that the other dragons deeply frowned on how personable he was with his soldiers, where he would actually go down into the city of Shangyang and he drinks and celebrates with his people. He trains with them. He builds a rapport with them. The idea that the Tiger Warriors are deeply, extremely loyal to him, I don't doubt that because he's rewarded them. He treats them with very, very high, he treats them affectionately. And the idea that they're fiercely loyal to him because of that, where the first white tiger came to him and he welcomed them with open arms and built this relationship with them. But the other dragons look at that with deep frowns.
Yeah, Zhao Ming's awesome. Zhao Ming is in the right place doing the right thing in the right part of the world, and I'm quite sure his dad has him there for a reason.
But he's also going mad.
Oh, yeah. He's not going mad. He's totally fine. The Great Maw and everything that's happened between him and
the whispering in his mind.
He's fine. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
the potential end times horror story, the tragedy of Zhao Ming, feels like it could be potentially amazing.
Yeah.
Because what a horrible person to have go mad in the end times.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Also, the other thing that's really interesting about this is so they don't really tell us why, but the idea that the first white tiger led the Highland tribes to fulfill a prophecy to lead them to salvation.
I find that interesting. And is this a later prophecy that was added and backtracked to it, or is this something they had at the time? Because if so, then that suggests that the first white tiger, who is probably also their god Kamau, the first white tiger who faced off, one would presume, against the first equivalent of the Ever Chosen as well. So there's all sorts of cool potential stories that could be told from this.
Yeah, we do know that the first white tiger was also a woman. or a
Oh,
female.
do we? So it's not Kamau.
Yeah, it's a different character because they mention the first white tiger carved her destiny in heroic fashion.
Well done. Well, maybe Kamau may have been a girl. Contrary to their expectations.
It could be that there's some overlaps among the myths.
History gets things wrong all the time.
Yeah, though it seems like Kamau is much, much older than the first white tiger. I think the first white tiger didn't show up until later. But
and they do refer to Kamau as the chieftain, as I recall.
Yeah, and they use he him stuff with Kamau.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, so one of the things that, so this whole thing of going to salvation, like Andy said, could be a very clever backport of the myth, where it's Cathay being like, you left the deportations of End and came to us, salvation here with us, which would be sinister as fuck, by the way. The other side being that this could be giving us some indications that there was a time where End was going through some shit.
Yeah. It's really indicative of a bigger story. I just want to bring up them because I always bring up these comments. Baby Zhao Ming and Bhashiva, fuck. So I think that not only is not unlikely, it's not as crazy as it sounds, because you got to remember that Zhao Ming isn't human. Zhao Ming may shapeshift as a human, but Zhao Ming's dad is a dragon and mum is a shapeshifter that's also not human. So there's nothing human in him. Sleeping with a human and having so many kids with humans is the weird thing, because he's going cross-species. Going cross-species with a tiger warrior is no different to doing it with a human. Humans are just as weird as tiger people. So from his perspective, not a great leap at all.
Yeah. All right. So from there, and I will say, if it's true that the white tiger rises during an Everchosen, could y'all imagine that this implies that there was an Everchosen attacking End, and that's why the first white tiger was there, but she fled to Cathay? There's a whole story that could be explored there.
Potentially a horrible betrayal is actually at the heart of their original story, not the great heroic tale that they tell themselves later. It's the sort of thing that makes for a great potential roleplay adventure when the heroes go down into the depths of the jungles, the mountains, wherever it is they happen to be. They get through to the temple that speaks to the original legends, and then they actually find out that no, the white tiger abandoned them. They fled the chaos that was left behind, and in so doing, damned a whole people to falling to chaos for their own salvation as they cross the mountains. And you go, this great hero of the past may not have been quite as heroic as we first thought. Those sort of stories which add tension to the old myths are super fun to play through.
Yep. Next paragraph. Because of this, their place within the armies of Cathay is a fascinating one. Zhao Ming's forces have always attracted a wide array of mercenary companies, and the Tiger Warriors are a natural presence among them. Their duties are as varied as their heritage, guarding long-distance caravans across treacherous routes, holding strategic outposts against whatever the world throws at them, and, when called upon, marching to support other provinces. Sometimes that's at the request of the Iron Dragon or his siblings, and sometimes because Bhashiva herself demands it.
Again, showing how much authority she has. When she demands something, she gets what she wants. But presumably, apparently, as someone of honor, she would not be making the demand unless that demand was warranted. It's not something she would do to exercise her power. It's something she would do because she felt it was necessary to be done. And when that occurs, she gets her way. And also, I think it's quite important here to note that the other dragons request the Tiger Warriors. That being the case, the other dragons request in what would be seen as forbidden troops if we stuck by Cathayan law, because they worship gods. And they request them in, meaning that there is a greater diversity of thought amongst not just the dragons of the West, but all of the dragons, when needs must, then when needs must, that is necessarily what you would expect if you stuck with the official doctrine that is espoused by the dragons as a whole. There is a complexity here. Now, does that mean that they don't suffer discrimination? They almost certainly do. Discrimination and the tension that comes from that discrimination makes for some great tales. It's some of the strongest Warhammer fantasy tales that there are. are the differences between the elves and the dwarves, the differences between class struggles in the empire, whatever it might be, the differences between one folk and one culture and another drives many of the greatest stories. And they clearly have got differences of culture. And the dragons are happy to use them when they need to be used. So they're not completely kicked out or ostracized by the others, but equally, that doesn't mean that they're accepted either.
Yeah, I do. Two things I actually really love about this is that I like the call out that Zhao Ming's army is like a weird cosmopolitan mess of different cultures and ideas and things, which is so not what you would think of the very rigid harmony of Grand Cathay you'd find elsewhere. This helps paint Zhao Ming as a very unique lord among his people. But another thing I really like is that the way this is worded with the part where it's like, and when called upon, march to support other provinces, suggesting that that's not really the main thing they spend a lot of their time doing. Like marching to defend Grand Cathay is not their like normal purpose. They do when they need to, when shit gets serious. But also the idea that they guard long distance caravans very much to me feels like this is a screaming, Tigermen have probably showed up at the Empire. It's a thing now. Deal with it.
Deal with it. And that for me is one of the bits that stands out from this, because when a new species is added to Warhammer, it's a big thing. When something that got hinted at before, our Tigermen in previous hints, gets explained as not just something that exists, but something that is a part of the civilizations that are encountered with and talked with and ultimately politicked with, it changes the fabric of what Warhammer offers. Now we've got Tigermen speaking to elf men. We've got tiger women speaking to dwarf women. We've got tiger folk speaking to human folk. We have got them almost certainly now up and down the Ivory Roads, down the main caravan routes. There's going to be, when you arrive at somewhere horrible where the ogres are running things, occasionally you're going to have tiger warriors dealing with the ogres there. It completely changes the Ogre Kingdom artwork. Now they can drop tiger warriors in their artwork legitimately and sensibly. They should be in there. We have just changed the fabric of the Warhammer world because now Marienburg almost certainly has Tigermen. And if you're out there, Anthony Reagan, and you happen to still be working on the Marienburg book, if you don't include that Tigermen, you missed out.
So this is brilliant. Are they probably very rare in other parts of the world? Probably, but they're out there.
Definitely. There's no doubt they are across the world. You're going to get Tigermen in most of the major ports of not just the old world, but the world at one point or another, because they are in the central hub of trade in Cathay. It is the central hub where most of the great caravans leave, those great trains that make their way across to the old world. And it is confirmed that the Tiger Warriors do provide guard service for those, which means Kislev has them. It means Tilia has them. It means Araby has them. They are everywhere, and that's cool as fuck.
Yes, it is. The final paragraph of this section says, it should come as no surprise that the Tiger Warriors stand...
I just need to bring up this comment because it'll scroll past and I'll lose it forever. Just like we said earlier, those stripes, they just blend in.
they're just very difficult to see.
They've been there since Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay First Edition. They're just in the background. Blending into all the trees.
Actually, if you all go open up your various Warhammer books right now and you look very carefully, you'll see they've been there the entire time.
In fact, they are in, if you want to go find them, the Tome of Corruption for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Second Edition, because there's a little piece of art of Tigerman in there. That's all the way back in 2007 or something.
So let's see. It should come as no surprise that the Tiger Warriors stand implacably against chaos, and they harbor a particular hatred for the schemes of Tzeentch. This enmity is also held for the Beastmen herds that have long plagued the mountains and jungles they once called home. For the Tiger Warriors, these foes aren't just threats to Grand Cathay, they're affronts to the very lands and traditions their people have fought to protect for generations. So The thing that I find super interesting here is this might be our little hint about what the White Tiger, what the salvation that she was fleeing was that the Beastmen utterly overwhelmed the Highlands of Int.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that. And plus, we are confirmed with more than one reference now that Tzeentch is the big bad for them. Tzeentch is the big bad, suggesting that there is definitely a tie to Tzeentch. It's not simply chaos. The Beastmen are children of chaos. They are not children of Khorne or Slaanesh or Tzeentch or any of the chaos gods. They are children of chaos. The Tiger Warriors are quite clearly marking themselves out as enemies of Tzeentch in particular because of Tzeentch's interest in them. And that means that there is a story there. And you all know how I love a story. And there's a story just waiting to be told about how Tzeentch once controlled the Tiger Warriors.
Yeah, one of the things I also love here is I'm very excited for the Beastmen getting a big shout out of being a huge antagonist to the East.
Yeah,
they are no longer just the boogeymen of the Empire. They are a worldwide problem, which they've always been. Like, if you go look at the very famous art from, I think, the 6th edition Beastmen book, and it shows the map of the whole world, and there's Beastmen, like, fucking everywhere.
Yeah,
there's always except for, like, Ulthuan and Lustria. But the books were always so annoying. Me and Andy have talked about this in the past. The books were always super annoying because they only focused on the Empire. And this is hopefully our big moment saying that in the old world, when we get books about this stuff, that they're finally going to be saying, nope, we're going to start showing you what worldwide Beastmen are like.
Agreed. I'd like to bring out a Man Like Pegasus comment because I think he's right. Does this paragraph also imply that they are children of the old ones as they are not a part of the Beastmen? And yes, it implies that, but it doesn't confirm it, which is one of the strengths of the writing, because it confirms that the Beastmen stand against everything they believe in. But equally, you could claim that, say, for example, they were once a human population, the Beastmen would still stand as an affront to everything they once believed in, and they became the stable Tiger Warrior version of that, and it could easily fit in with that too. But I think all stories being potentially open is the strength of this piece, rather than it definitely suggests one thing or another thing as definite fact.
Yeah, because you could still read this and interpret it if you... I feel like they're very much trying to heavily suggest I saw it too. Games Workshop's like, all right, that's our Beastmen players. We'll see you in 2035. Get the fuck out of our office.
For those of you listening, Warmonger, the one and only, just added the Beastmen shout out means that Games Workshop can get away with not doing anything with them for the next decade. Yeah, sadly accurate.
Yeah. One of the things that could be, if you wanted to interpret the story this way based on what we suggested earlier, which could be the case, is that it could be that the Tigermen were once part of the Beastmen, but when their god Kamau, basically from Chaos's perspective, betrayed Chaos, it created an eternal hatred between these two groups that used to be one group. That is a potential story. I don't think it's the likely story, but it's a potential story.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't think it's hugely likely either. But part of the fun of Lorebeards is always looking at what's on offer and trying to tease out what it could mean beyond what the words themselves say.
Yeah. Awesome. Excellent. Next up, we've got battle gameplay about the regular Tiger Warriors. So we get one paragraph. We don't get any art of them, sadly, though we do have that art from the Games Workshop article, which is nice. So this says, our goal for the Tiger Warriors was to bring something genuinely complementary to Grand Cathay's roster. Units that don't just fill a gap, but open an entirely new way to play the race. Cathay has always leaned towards disciplined lines and deliberate formations, so giving them a force built around agility, stalking, and some ambushes.
I just have to call it. Would you call Grand Cathay a race?
In the
it's a
way,
faction.
Yeah, in the way they use the term within the video game, yes.
Because that's weird, because now we're dealing with multiple species being taken up by a single word race. That's just weird.
Yeah, they're not. So in the game, when they're using Total War speak, which they are in the battle gameplay section, they would be considered a race, not a faction. Because a faction would be your legendary lord leading your faction. So the race...
That is a bit weird, isn't it?
It is, but it's
just a misuse of the word race completely.
Yeah, it's the gaming language. I don't know what you want me to say. Let's see. Sudden ambushes instantly changes the feeling of their battlefield toolkit. The Tiger Warriors slip into that role perfectly. They're fast, they hit hard when they choose the right moment, and they let Cathayan players pull off flanks and surprise strikes like the faction has never really had access to before. From a visual standpoint, they're also some of the coolest characters and units we've ever worked on, unlike anything that's come before in the series. I believe that. Genuinely. The big thing that's fun here is they, from a gameplay perspective and from a lore perspective, they are such a, oh boy, yes, let's go, fresh breath into Cathay of like that rigid harmony system is how the humans fight, but there are other species that are fighting alongside Cathay that do weirder things.
Agree completely. Lindsay just delivered a toasty. Oh my god, it's good.
Good. And then here,
the best toasty I've ever had.
This, I love the Claw Speaker art.
Yeah, me too.
That art is so kick-ass. It is like getting to see the influence of End for the first time. It's phenomenal. It's utterly phenomenal. Like look at their staffs. They look so fucking sick. Oh
yeah. The only thing I felt it was missing, because I was going through all of the classic Warhammer tick boxes, was there wasn't one example of a giant hat. And if you're doing Warhammer, you need to have at least one giant hat. So if all of these Tiger Warriors come out and not a single one of them has a giant hat, I will be slightly disappointed.
I feel like if your job is stealth, you probably should not be wearing a giant hat. But
this is Warhammer. They don't care.
All right, so the Claw Speaker, these guys' lore is fucking fascinating. So this one, I'm going to do these two paragraphs together because they go straight into it. We're doing super chats at the end. We didn't miss it. We're doing them all at the end. Lore introduction. Tiger Claw Speakers serve as the wizards of the Tiger Warriors, worshipping the old Indish gods, chief among them Kamau, the tiger god. Their magic leans towards the wind of beasts, channeling raw, untamed strength of the wild. In battle, they could swell the ferocity of their own warriors or summon savage creatures from the mountains of heaven to fight at their side. Unsurprisingly, faith also runs deep among the Tiger Warriors. Every one of them believes that without Kamau's protection, the Chaos Gods would rise to enslave their race once more. For the Claw Speakers, that belief is more than tradition. It is a duty they carry into every spell cast and every battle fought.
So, this fascinates me because it's another example of a species using religion to access magic rather than divine magic, where humanity normally doesn't have magic for their priests, it's for their wizards, where here their priestly caste is also their wizard caste.
Yeah,
this is more like the elves, or indeed chaos. And that, I think, is a fascinating route into understanding who they are, where they have not got this position where they believe the gods per se are the ones that are bringing about these powers. It's them using magic. Perhaps they can use magic because they're blessed by the gods, but nevertheless, it's a personal thing that's happening rather than calling upon the divine to do it. Now, they might be accessing the divine by using magic, but it's still magic that's the access point. The second bit that I find really interesting in this one is it's not just Kamau. It is the Indish gods, and I love that bit.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, End's like oldest Warhammer Fantasy title is End, the Land of 1,000 Gods. And now we have it confirmed that it's still a land with multiple gods, and it seems that many of them are still worshipped by the Tiger Warriors, but Kamau, as far as the Tiger Warriors are concerned, is the big boss, which makes sense. They're tigers.
That makes sense completely. Their big boss being their ancient leader, their Sigmar type, as far as we can tell, an ancient leader that rose up, gave them some champion level, high quality myths, and then became a god afterwards. That appears to be what Kamau is. Alternatively, you could very easily go, no, Kamau was a chaos god that took those Tiger Warriors with them when he rebelled against the other gods, and the myths are nothing more than myths. And that would still fit with everything honestly, that's here.
I would like lose my shit foaming at the mouth. I would be so feverishly excited if they went with a storyline of like they were on Team Chaos, but the scheming and the duplicity and the lies of Tzeentch, that Kamau was a Chaos God, but he was a Chaos God of honor. And Tzeentch's shit, he just went, no, this is enough, because that would tell. There's always such a misunderstanding that me and Andy have talked about in the past, where a lot of people are like, oh, Khorne is the god of honorable combat. It's like, no, he's not. Khorne's a fucking dick.
He's a dick.
He's a
big childish man-child.
Yeah, he has never been a god of honor.
No.
And,
that doesn't mean that individual followers might not have honor.
Yes, very true. And man, if they were to go with the idea that there was a god of honor, that originally, which also would tell a fascinating story of if in whatever the initial inciting incident was between the gods, Kamau sided with Chaos initially, but then Chaos went to such depredations, to such lengths to try and achieve victory that Kamau went, no, this is too far. This is too much.
Yeah, all of those would be pretty cool stories. I have no issues with any of them. And if I was being judgmental, as in I was judging this, I would have preferred if it had left a touch more ambiguity as to whether Kamau was immortal or not beforehand. It's quite clear the preference in the writing here is that Kamau was mortal.
Yeah, he does. It comes out very Sigmar-y.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And we've kind of had that story multiple times. It would have been nice to actually have a god tied to them right from the very beginning, because that's not a story that we have almost anything of in terms of from the Cataclysm all the way through.
Now,
we particularly don't have the story of all of the what was during the Cataclysm, hundreds, arguably thousands, possibly more of Chaos gods, many of which died during that Great War, in the same way that many of the gods that were on the other side died during that Great War. There's multiple examples of this in multiple parts of Warhammer's lore, where the gods themselves were at war. And this would have been a perfect opportunity to just go, yeah, they were. And here's an example of how they were.
Yeah. And it's also very possible that I'm not saying this is likely, but it's possible that Kamau could be more like an ancestor god situation, where he might have always been like a godlike figure and he could still be around. Like we don't know for sure. It could be that in end, Kamau is still a physical being who is doing stuff.
Yeah, that's probably the answer I'd end up landing on if I was to jump on this and have to expand it, because I wouldn't like to overwrite the idea that he was mortal or immortal. Mortal, if you see what I mean, like the ancestor gods. Yeah, and I think the ancestor gods provide a relatively good model. But again, you don't really want to tell the same tales again. So I'd be quite keen to tell something quite different to what the dwarves have with their ancestor gods.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get more details about him when this comes out later this spring. But let's see. Next up, we've got the gameplay segment, which I'm going to read these two together because the second paragraph is very short. Mm-hmm. Claw Speakers. Okay, and this is super cool. Claw Speakers play a very different role to their spellcaster kin within the Cathayan roster. They move quickly, deploy forward, and slip into position just ahead of the main army thanks to their vanguard deployment. Not to fight, but to shape the battle before it ever begins. Their hybrid role of priestly devotion and raw magical talent also gives Grand Cathay something it has never had access before. The healing properties of the Lore of Life paired with spells from the Lore of Beasts and Shadows. The Claw Speaker becomes this incredibly versatile force multiplier. Beyond the above, we're also exploring how better to express the Claw Speaker's devout spirituality and how their faith in Kamau shapes their abilities on the battlefield. This work is still ongoing, but we'll have more to share as we get closer to launch. And the thing that I will add real quick, just for anyone that's like, what do they mean by that, is what they're seeming to imply here is that the priestly aspect is being currently explored. So like your bound spells with a Claw Speaker will be the Lore of Life. And then the actual spells they use that require the Winds of Magic will be either the Lore of Beasts or the Lore of Shadows.
I think that sounds pretty much accurate, but it also suggests that they're going to have some potentially unique abilities.
Oh yeah, and some bonus
that's down below, some cool unique extras that are almost certainly going to be faith-based, as in your men become more stoic, your soldiers over there don't flee, or because of what they're doing, don't like beastmen, or whatever it is that they decide an expression of their faith is. But they're going to probably have one-click special abilities or innate abilities that allow them to do extras in the battlefield, and that's all cool. I love this. I also love that they went for the lore of Beast, Shadows, and Life, because they are the obvious options by far. And sometimes they don't go for the obvious options, and you're just left scratching your head going, why did they choose this other option? This doesn't make sense. But you often find, and I say this with the utmost respect, you often find those mistakes come from Games Workshop Studio, not from someone like Creative Assembly, who are much more steeped in the idea of getting everything perfectly correct so that Games Workshop agrees to it, where the Games Workshop Studio is much more steeped in the idea of they're the ones creating it, everyone else can fuck off.
It's funny you say that. There's a moment that I think of that makes me laugh always. When you and I did the Tehinuin stream, we talked about how Tehinuin very realistically should have been a Lore of Light caster. It makes by far the most sense for his character. I heard from a CA dev, and I got an email from one of the writers on the Lustria Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay book, where they both said, hey, just want to let you know, we would have loved to do that, but GW said he had to be Lord of Beast. It wasn't our idea. And I was like, oh, I know those, GW, you're fine.
yeah, totally. And it's genuinely this odd tension that GW have with their own creators and the people who create on their behalf with their licensees. But the licensees are often more closely shearing to the background to try and make it the best it possibly can be and fit perfectly with the background, while Games Workshop's own material sometimes just doesn't. And they're stuck with it too. The people who are running the licensing team, they've got to do whatever the studio says. So they'll be like, yeah, no, Tehinuin doesn't get that because that's not what it says in the book.
Tehinuin should have the lore that's called Hish, because it's a giant fucking snake.
It's a giant snake. Everything about it. Oh,
and he's man. Anyway, we don't have time for that.
We don't have time for that. Let's move on.
This is great. I'm really, really pleased that the Tiger Warriors, that they didn't end up making the priests like separate from magic, that it's the same thing. It makes the universe, it just fits the universe. It just fits the universe. It keeps that weirdness of like, what the fuck is going on with the humans in the old world? Why are they so weird? Which is great.
Love that. Yep.
We love it. From there, we have the final paragraph, which is, there we have it. Your first look at Bhashiva. Okay, this is just basically saying, we'll see you in late spring. This is great.
So my loose conclusion to all of this is a genuinely great addition to the Warhammer world that feels like it fits, that adds new and interesting myths to not just Ind, but Cathay as well, that brings an entirely new aspect to Cathay, and by extension, everywhere that Cathay is connected to, because of the inclusion of basically giant talking tiger folk. And that is brilliant. I'm also going to offer an apology for what I said at the start of the stream, because there is not a single mention of tiger men in there.
Yeah, tiger men are no more. They're now
tiger men are no more, exactly as I hoped. I still admit I'd rather that they had a name that was culturally appropriate, as in they wouldn't call themselves Tiger Men because they don't speak English, or Tiger Warriors or anything else. Yeah, but it would be lovely to have, like, what would be the Tiger Warrior Hindi? I'm gonna go check that out.
I really hope, just like with Cathayan, they went big on like translating a lot of the names. I really hope they do that for the Indian stuff. It really should be very Hindi inspired. Man Like Pegasus says, did I have prior knowledge of this reveal? No. I knew about the article the day before, because I got it preceded to me so I could make the video so that I could release the video when the article went live. But I did not know about this.
Okay, so Bag Yodha. There you go. Bag Yodha. That would be Tiger Warrior in Hindi.
That sounds fucking awesome.
I've almost certainly massacred that. But Bag Yodha.
Yeah, Bhashiva's name is great. The white tiger, her name, I think Bhashiva sounds pretty decent.
Yep. I'm totally happy with that.
I don't know shit about Hindi. If there's someone out there that knows about that, and is like, no, that's a terrible name, feel free to let us know.
Was I pretty close? Thanks very much. Who was that? Prana Mia Sharma? Thank you very much. I've almost certainly pronounced your name wrong too.
Dude, Andy, you want to hear something deeply embarrassing pronunciation-wise?
Yeah, go.
So I have a moderator for my community who I think's popped up for Lorebeard stuff, and I've called him castrated, right? I've called him castrated. I've called him that for 4 years. And I was in a collab stream teaching someone to play Blood Bowl, and she goes, isn't his name castrated? And I went,
castrated, yeah.
What? And he was like, I was like, no, surely he would have corrected me if his name was castrated. And he was like, oh, I thought you were pronouncing it wrong as a joke. And I was like,
I'm going to bring up this comment. Why would you use Hindi and not Tamil? Tamil is almost like Tiger. You're right. And the only reason I chose Hindi was because it's the first one that came to mind. No other reason. There's lots of potential languages that could be used. And I would much prefer, if I were the one that was responsible for trying to get it done, to speak to somebody from that part of the world and say, let's have a big sit down and figure out what would be the best languages to use, the best cultural parts that make sense to reflect, others we definitely shouldn't use because of local cultural sensitivities, because some of them are seen as religious or some of them are seen as historically inappropriate or whatever it might be. I have a big, long chin wag to pin down what the coolest stuff is.
Yeah, please, gods, this is a great sign. Please let Creative Assembly continue working with Games Workshop, because when those two work together, they release just the coolest shit. They make the coolest shit. Please.
Yeah, this is pretty goddamn good. I liked it. I felt that the final result of what it looked almost exactly as I expected. So I had a slight letdown there. In that I didn't have anything that made me go, wow, I didn't expect that. Holy crap, that looks cool. Instead, it's more of a, that's exactly what I expected. Cool. So it's not an uncool. It's just a, oh, okay, that's pretty much what I expected. If I was doing it, it would have landed in about that area. Sounds great. Good stuff.
The last thing I want to say that I do find really interesting is that I like how the claw speakers look like they've held on very strongly to their Indian heritage. Because if you look at the claw speakers,
staffs, because holy heck, look at the size of the muscles.
When you look at how they're dressed and like all of the jewelry and how their staffs are designed and everything, and then we go over here and we look at the
Tiger Warrior art from GW.
Yeah, which is the Cathayan Tiger Warrior.
Yeah.
Like, it is dramatically different. Like, you really can tell that's a Cathayan Tiger Warrior.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? I like that. Makes me happy.
That art is, I love that art. That's very pretty art. Yeah, good shit. But that's the article, and GW released a absolute nothing burger other than that art, which was cool.
Alrighty, well, we dive through our super chats because there's quite a lot here. I'm looking forward to discussing.
Yes. So let's get caught up on all that. I'm just double checking again for any last minute cheers or Bloombull. Thank you very much for the tier 1 sub. We appreciate it. Gotta check those manually because fucking StreamYards. All right. Super chat stuff. Also, thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of Lorebeards. I literally waited. I was sitting there just waiting for the article to go live, and I was like, Andy, look. The second I was allowed to do so. Anyway, Biofoot, how and where did Tiger Mommy fight Asvar Cool? We don't know yet.
So the most likely place is in the Kislev part of what lies on the other side of the World's Edge Mountains.
Yeah.
Because that part, if we go with the history that we have at the moment, is going to get utterly crushed, leaving Kislev with land only on one side of the World's Edge Mountains, which means all of that part of Kislev is going to burn. And it's very likely Cathay will be part of the supporting forces up there attempting to defend against Azavar Kul's horde. So I think it's extremely likely it's there.
Yeah, the big answer is that we're probably going to see Kislev and Cathay get their shit rocked leading up to the full invasion of like Prague and everything.
Yeah, and it does. In fact, I'm going to bring up this comment because it came in just as I was about to say something similar. Does imply Cull won pretty handily up there? Yes, he does. The entire fight in the north culminates in Kislev City at the Battle for Kislev Gates, and every fight up to there, Chaos absolutely stomped.
Which he should, because that makes him feel like an Everchosen. That will make Cool feel like a big fucking deal, which he should.
Agreed. And he really should do. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they tackle that.
Ryan, how are you? Wake up. Dude, the power of the Tiger Warriors, man. The power of the Tiger Warriors. I barely got any sleep. Dude. Sean Schultz, who is the cat's meow of Lawhammer?
The cat's meow. There's no real answer to that one to Sean Schultz.
It's got to be Alamina with.
Yeah, I suppose so. She's got the...
Schwarzage. Okay, I need these as models ASAP. Probably will be a bit because we're still waiting on the second wave of Cathay to come out that they've already announced.
So I'm imagining that this is now going to happen because of the language deployed, but we probably won't see it for about 3-4 years, depending on how their various waves of releases work. As I've discussed, I think we've both discussed in previous streams, it seems very likely the next major theater of war will be shifted over to the east. Yeah. And when they do that, they'll then be able to present new Cathayan armies and then start to build upon Kislev, obviously, which is going to get trashed, and other armies in and around that place. And this is the easiest way to bring in Ind without actually doing Ind, by adding a new mercenary contingent that you can add to any army and saying, here's your Tiger Warriors that you can add to any army for a certain number of points.
Yeah, and I would... This is going to sound like a stretch, but I'm going to say it because I've heard all sorts of interesting whispers on the vine. I feel, especially seeing that this is actually happening, I feel much, much more confident in the whispers that I've heard that the Kingdoms of End are eventually coming to tabletop. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get them in Total War, but tabletop, I feel like it's inevitable at this point.
I think so too. End seems inevitable. Somewhere like Koresh or Nippon might take longer. Nippon seems exceedingly likely.
Nippon is probably
left so. Yeah, and there's a secondary reason why Ind is so high. Do you know how big India's economy is? Games Workshop company.
Games Workshop's in there going.
Yeah, they're looking to access the burgeoning cash that is building up in one of the largest economies in the world.
Buffa, one more step to goal. Crab dwarfs and clam rats, get out.
They're coming.
That man's drinking. Get him out of here. Take him home. Chris 989. While they said they're created by the old ones, the whole defiance against Tzeentch and their chieftain turned god Kamau makes me think these could very well be non-chaos beastmen in truth. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it would make a really good story if they were, but I think we'll also clarify, I think it would make a really good story if they weren't. I think you both make good stories. But this one is a story that has yet to be told. The species, the group that were plagued by chaos, fought off against them, fought them in another place. It's been done many times. Very, very, very few times has Games Workshop had the balls to tackle they were on the chaos side and flipped. They just don't do that. Because once you go chaos, you're gone forever with the vast majority of their stories. And this makes for a different take. So it'd be fun if they either use this or something similar as a way to explore that.
Yeah, I have never, ever, ever seen the terminology used of a race enslaved to chaos got away. I've never seen that.
And given the nature of free will that has been commonly espoused by certain quarters of Workshop's lore for Warhammer Fantasy as a whole, damning an entire species is not a universal thing. Now, for example, some species are damned as a whole because that was the deal that was struck. We're looking at the Dragon Ogres, likely the Thamir. But if we're looking at others, okay, all of humanity is not damned for the bajillions of humans that follow chaos. The vast majority of chaos worshippers in the world, after all, are human. Almost all of them. Does that mean all humans are damned? Of course it doesn't. Does that mean that the children of a damned person is damned? No, it doesn't. That's not how it works. And this could be an example of those who were damned freeing those who follow after them. And that could be a really fun story.
And note that the Celestial Lion is different because that's a creature. Like a chaos corrupted creature is very different than like a race that gets.
And you've even got the potential story there of the reason that the Tiger Warriors had to get all the way up to Cathay is because Cathay is where their souls could be cleansed by the Emperor. So there's even a potential that you could free what were an entirely damned species through the imposition of an existing piece of lore where the Emperor has cleansed, doing some particularly impressive and large magics, certain creatures that are within Grand Cathay. You could do the same for the Tiger Men. There's lots of fun, cool little stories you could play with, but I think I prefer the tension of the Tiger Men not being accepted by the majority of the dragons. So I would be trepidatious of taking that route.
Yeah, I agree. Stephen Lucas just woke up. Surprise DLC stream. Yep, surprise!
Surprise!
Smasher V15. Super excited to join you boys live for once. Oh, well, thank you for joining us. I work long trips to work and listen to VODs during work to make the hours go faster. Just want to say thanks to so much for all you do. You're awesome. Oh, that's very sweet.
As are you. You're the best. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I hope you have a great day at work. Or a great night at work, rather. There, I want a story where Bhashiva faces off against a big beast man. Perhaps Tarux? Is there any clear rival she would have, like Arbol, Takala, or maybe Stitch? So, I mean, it sounds like the white, which there's a fun thing you could explore with this about like the almost Christ story about a terrifying, inevitable destiny. But the White Tiger's destiny, it seems implied, is to fight the Ever-Chosen. And unfortunately, it seems like for most of them, their destiny is to die, is to lose. Because we know a White Tiger is not going to kill Asvar Kul, and we know, well, probably not. And we know for a fact Bhashiva does not.
Asvar Kul is killed by Magnus. Magnus kills Asvar Kul.
Yeah, so that's two White Tigers that are going to fail to defeat the entity that they are trying to kill. So it seems like they kind of have a doomed prophecy to them, which I like. I think that's spicy, of that maybe their honor demands they try, even if they're doomed to failure. The idea that maybe never, a White Tiger has never succeeded, or maybe one did. I think there's a lot there you could do. As far as who could Bhashiva fight, that would be super interesting. I need to know more about her for me personally. Like, I don't even know how big she is. Like, I don't know if she's human sized. I don't know if she's Minotaur sized. I have no idea. So, I
mean, tigers are huge.
Yeah.
So I'm quite hopeful that they're big.
Yeah.
If they're not big, I'll be slightly disappointed. If they're human sized, I'm going to be a bit, oh, really?
Yeah, I'm expecting them to be monstrous infantry because Cathay doesn't have that, and that would make their role very good. In the roster. So if she's monstrous infantry sized, honestly, her versus Clanessian, Tigerman versus Clanessian feels fucking cool because it's a stealth fight, but different kinds of stealth. More of like ambush predator versus ninja stuff, which is fucking cool. But you also like Takala versus her could be super cool. There's a lot you could do.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up one comment regarding Stick, if I can find it, because it made me laugh because I made this joke earlier today. Clanessian is an eternal conflict with the scary cats because, cats and rats, definitely. I did a couple of news articles, one of which was Clanessian makes declaration that all cats must immediately withdraw for Grand Cathay to return it back to what it was, or there will be consequences.
Rumor has it Bhashiva faction does bonus damage when fighting Skaven. Honestly, I would love, though, there being like a thing where maybe in Shangyang in the west, within the actual cities, Skaven have a harder time infiltrating because the Tiger Warriors. That could be really fun.
I would love that because the freaking Skaven piss me off when I'm playing over in Cathay.
Oh, yeah. To Blam, Andy, does this change anything for Lawhammer, Tiger Daddy? Official end lore starting to emerge? Does the Tiger God count in the hundreds of end gods? The last one is just a yes.
Yeah, the last one's a definite yes. And for those who don't know, in Lawhammer, there's a character called Tadayoshi. It's not Daddy Yoshi, as some people like to refer to him. Tadayoshi, who is a Nipponese character who's directly related to tigers, and he is one of the character's father, thus the Tiger Daddy. Does it change anything for the Tiger Daddy? Nothing more than his past and the history and the awareness of things, but it doesn't change anything for him per se.
There you go. Warmonger, the one and only. Has anyone made a cat fight joke yet? If not, we've done very Paul Lee in terms of comedy today.
Nobody did, and I'm glad that you added it, Warmonger. You are the one and only.
Siegfried and Roy had at least 3 white tigers there before. Yeah, I will say, as an American, we were, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, we were fucking obsessed with white tigers. Obsessed. Like, if I ever went to the zoo, they always had at least 1 white tiger and then regular ones, which ended up causing a whole thing because, like, usually in order to get the white tigers, zoos were trying to purposely breed them, which caused a lot of inbreeding and other nasty shit. They eventually stopped doing that, but I remember there was a whole controversy about that at some point. Druzina, isn't there concern about defining an entire culture, such as End, by its real-world culturally defined demons, like the Naga Rakasha? So it's worth noting that the Tigermen are not the entirety of End. They are a group from End. But in the Kingdoms of End, unless there has been a very dramatic change that I do not expect at all, the Kingdoms of Men is primarily made up of humans.
And that appears to still be the case. It wouldn't surprise me if they have lots of other species as well, though. It does appear to be a place that's going to be playing on the 1,000 gods idea. There's loads and loads and loads of gods, in some respects in a similar fashion to the Empire, because it also has thousands of gods. So I don't think this is how they are being defined. It is worth noting, though, that Kuresh is kind of defined by the Naga. And Kuresh is marked as being kind of fallen to chaos as well. So you'll find that over there, yeah, there is something here that I do think that there is a concern about in terms of how they do it. A concern doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. It just means that there is a concern. That concern needs to be addressed, and whatever they make needs to be cleverly done.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you haven't watched it, go check out a stream me and Andy did with the Koresh Project guys, where it's a bunch of people that like really know their shit making their own version of Koresh, and it's to be fair, it's probably much nastier and horrible, probably more so than what GW is going to do, because some of the stuff they created, I don't think GW would want to make.
Great.
It's like, it can be done, but I agree with Andy. You have to tread carefully. Singemeister, White Tiger reminds me of Blessing of the Old One, White Saurus. Yeah, like Gorok, there is potentially something there. There is a trope in Warhammer, which is a trope in a lot of fiction, just to be general, that albinism is like a signal that you are blessed by the gods.
Or something special. This is quite common in Warhammer. It's common in standard fiction and myth as well. The Great White Heart or Moby Dick or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like
great white whale that lies beyond. This is a common thing, and the idea that they've reproduced it yet again is no great surprise. It would have been a bigger surprise if they'd done something like the Great Purple Tiger. But a Great White Tiger, not a surprise.
That would have been surprising.
Yeah, I think so too.
Barney ass dinosaur coming out. End Times is getting retconned, as in written to be better. Hell yeah, I'll drink to that. We will.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Will we. Yeah, indeed.
Hi, Queen Jen. So my cat trying to trip me down the stairs last night was a sign of great things to come. Yes.
Yeah, my cat 3 days ago didn't just try to trip me. I have the forest breeds from the north, so they're all bigger cats. And one of my cats, Manfred von Katstein, is pretty huge. And one of mine, Shadow, decided that today is the day he was going to run down the stairs at full speed to the back of my legs as I was halfway making a step down to the next step. And he hit me full speed in the back of the leg. And I went, this cat looks pretty small, as I watched my leg fly upwards in front of me. And I went, uh-oh. And it was one of those moments where time genuinely feels like it slows down, because I looked down and I saw one leg flying up in the air, the other not on a stair. And my brain went, oh, well, this is going to hurt. It's going to hurt, Andy. And it had enough time to have its own little discussion. This is really going to hurt. Are you ready? And my arms went, I should be reacting now. And they went, you're 50. Fuck off. Ah! And I went down, and it hurt like,
get down, Mr. Law. Yeah, little did you realize he was saving you from the Giselle sniper bullet from the Skaven.
So Vladimir von Katstein took me down. Well, it wasn't last night; it was last week, and it hurt like hell, but it was fine. But what it did make me realize is, as I'm getting older, I'm going to be more careful going down my own bloody stairs.
You got to hold the banister.
I'm just an old man. I have my old walking stick and fight the cats.
Yeah, do
off.
I need to come over there and help y'all install one of those like electronic seats that goes up the stairs?
Oh, holy crap.
Dude, my dad is retiring at the end of next week. So both folks will be retired now.
Congratulations to them.
They're very excited. They're gonna go on a fun little vacation. So good shit. Vayer 7, could it not mean that several white tigers could have faced an Everchosen? If one dies during a chaos crisis, another would have to rise up, potentially.
Yes. Yeah, it does suggest that might be the case. And I do think that reading is not necessarily bad, because there's going to be an awful lot of magic rising in the world. And if that white tiger's dead and the white tiger is the focal point of it, that focal point will be removed. That focal point will refocus. And it also gives that feeling of reincarnation that you get in many Eastern myths. The idea of once one falls, a new one will be born, and the tiger warriors will be looking for the next birth of the next white tiger. So it, to me, absolutely does suggest that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, and Everchosens, many of them last long enough that this could easily happen. Like, they're around for a hot minute.
Yeah, totally.
FA, I wonder if the White Tigers only appears for an Everchosen, or maybe they also appear during times of crisis for the Tiger Warriors. Could explain why the amount isn't known, despite us knowing at least 12 have appeared.
That was my reading of it, because it made it feel a little bit less certain. You didn't immediately go, oh, well, there's probably 13 white tigers, maybe 14 if one during the cataclysm as well, assuming that you don't think that there was an Everchosen during this cataclysm. My preference, but it's absolutely not what the lore currently says. So that would be a good reading, and I like the idea that possibly as well, that during some of the great waxings of chaos, there might have been more than one white tiger, as one died, another was reincarnated.
That would easily shunt us into like the hundreds.
Yeah, very possibly.
Like,
you could get a lot of them. Yeah. And I think that's possibly a better way. Possibly.
Yeah, well, because it would make keeping track of them feel like, oh yeah, no, we say there's countless because nobody fucking knows.
And it would also be something that no longer would be tracked by the Cathayans. The Cathayans would track something that only happens when there is a great surging of the chaos, because it would be one of the signs that they need to start preparing for defense.
I will say, that adds a fun level of like kind of fucked up tragedy to the white tigers, of that, like when a white tiger is born for the Tiger Warriors, it's like a white tiger for everyone else, but for everyone else they're like, oh shit.
And in some respects you then begin to understand why the white tigers, and indeed the cat warriors as a whole, the tiger warriors, pardon me, would be accepted by the dragons, because they would be a barometer that they would use to test the weather of chaos.
I can see that might also be why they got chased out of End, potentially, if they're seen as like a curse.
Yeah, you could easily read it that way. There's lots of stories that just this little bit of lore and its addition adds to how Warhammer could be expressed over in the East.
I'm so excited for Tiger Warriors. Yeah, I can't believe they're real. Like, I can't believe they're actually happening. Good God. Especially like the last 5 years for Warhammer Fantasy has been fucking bonkers.
Yeah, we've been feeding.
We've been feeding. Magladroth. Oh my God, this is amazing. I can't wait for this DLC. The world's getting so much bigger and complex. Can't wait for a proper end DLC down the road. God's willing.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely.
Jonathan King. Maybe they were a custodian race as well. They could have been. I doubt it, but they could have been.
They absolutely could have been, and that would be an unexpected reading of it. It'd work.
When I miscounted and thought they had 4 fingers, I was like, "Oh, they're definitely an old one race." And then it's like, "Oh wait, no, they have 5, so never mind." Smasher, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Red Rook, I love an end time story where all his siblings accept Zhao to be corrupted or turn on them, only for Zhao to be a big damn tragic hero in the end.
So I'm not sure that'd be my preferred one, largely because Zhao is often a big damn hero anyway. It's not like he's never the one that makes mistakes. He just does things differently. He does things his own way, and he gets a certain amount of backchat from his siblings for doing so. Where Yin Yin, she is often cast as the one who made many an error. I wouldn't mind her being a big damn tragic hero that without her, everything would be much, much, much worse, going against the stereotype that has been sort of dropped upon her. But I am an unexpected Jinyan stan, and the more the time passes by, the more I kind of want a dragon to do well.
What I would think that the current writing they've been adding would establish for Zhao Ming is I expect Zhao Ming's end would be a deep tragedy that revolves very heavily around the Great Maw. Like the Great Maw should have a story in the end times, a big, scary one, and Zhao Ming should be at the heart of it.
And very possibly eaten by it. Yeah.
Because
and it depends on the story you want to tell and the message you want to make. If you want the message to be that Zhao Ming's direction is good, having him ultimately eaten by the Maw is not the best way to nail that message. If you believe multiculturalism that he expresses a good thing, you don't want him eaten for his views, effectively. If, however, you want to show multiculturalism brings danger, then you could easily take that route. It's a route I would personally never take, but it's definitely a story you could tell. But I definitely think that the Maw and what Zhao Ming offers needed a really cool big story, and likely one where he is either responsible for ending the Maw, or the Maw is responsible for ending much of what he's attempting to do, and showing that the Maw has this cunning intelligence that no one expects and effectively tricks him into almost getting eaten by the ogres or some equivalent. There's lots of ways it could be used, and sitting down and having a good think about the end time story that you'd want to tell, and ultimately how Chaos takes advantage of it, is, I think, a yawning issue that's yet to be properly resolved.
I could think of at least 3 different, very, very dramatically different storylines you could do that would all be tragic in different ways. Necroplayer. Another thing I love about this is I hope this implies that Zhao Ming is the diplomat of the Xenos within Grand Cathay, despite or in spite of the opinions of his siblings and or dad. I would say the lore seems pretty definitive at this point that Zhao Ming is I will take anything and everything as long as it is useful to what I am trying to do. Which paints him in a very positive light in some ways, but I think there would be undercurrents of extreme danger when you consider his like reliance on Warpstone and his willingness to delve into things that his father and mother are saying, don't do this, that he keeps playing with fire and eventually it's going to burn him.
I mean, just on the lead out, I just said to bring that one up on playing with fire. Yeah, I sort of agree. And I think that there is he's a great character. He is this outward looking immortal who has seen all ages of Warhammer, every last one of them. And as we're moving towards the final age of Warhammer has come to the conclusion that the best way to do things is to work with others. And he does so all the time. Anything that he thinks is fascinating and interesting, he takes in underneath his wing and says, yes, here you can flourish, which is so contrary to the great harmony of Cathay. But in many respects, it also complements it because it gives them access to things they would never otherwise have, which is one of the reasons you can see that he's allowed the freedoms that he has for all the other dragons clearly and almost certainly don't like it.
Yeah, I feel like this does such a good job of reinforcing what his mother really sees in him, is that he represents a different expression of harmony. He's still harmonious. He's still expressing harmony, but it's not the harmony his father wants, which causes conflict between him and Yuan Bo, especially. Like, Yuan Bo and Zhao Ming are said to really fucking butt heads. Unpleasantly so.
I agree.
Which is great.
Agreed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's lovely. Add some complexity to Cathay.
Sarmalian Bloodweaver, what if tigers were being purged by chaos, corrupted / deceived evil king and end? Some left in, others stayed to restore order. So if there was someone, I mean, end could be, I don't know what end is even going to look like as far as like how much of the population is human versus these bestial people. What's the like ratio? Do humans hold positions of authority or do the bestial people hold positions of authority? Is it a mix? Because it could have been maybe there was an era where the Tiger Warriors ended up being ostracized or cast out. Maybe it was a Zinchi employee, a cult of Zinch convinces the other peoples of Ind to turn against the Tigers, or blames the Tigers of the Highlands for some horrible tragedy, and the Tigers of the Highlands have to flee. Who knows?
Yeah, agreed to all of that. Yeah.
Warmonger, the one and only. Zhao Ming out there proving why D&D sorcerers have draconic bloodline as one of their main subclasses.
Seems fair.
Yeah. The Callantir, giant muscly cat girls now canon. Prepare yourself. Yeah, there's probably some part of the internet where a bunch of artists are going, it's my time.
They certainly are, and unlike the official art, I can see those breasts increasing in size by the hour.
Yeah. If what they've done to Skaven and Lizardmen can be setting a template. Yeah. Smiling Kira theory. The Moon Empress, aka Zinch, tricked the first white tiger to Cathay so that Zhao Ming can have a cat girl girlfriend. Okay, I thought you were starting serious at first, but it kind of wandered off script. Sure,
do I think, so there's different parts here. Do I think, number one, that the Moon Empress is Zinch? No. Do I think that the white tiger was tricked north? Possibly. Very. I'm going to get some more water. The dragons are not above trickery. Indeed, they have trickery hard-coded into their DNA through their mum. So as much as this is quite clearly just half a joke, there is something in this. That Zhao Ming may have a cat girl girlfriend. I, again, attest that I think this is no more or less strange than Zhao Ming having any human girlfriend. They are as different to him as any other species is, because Zhao Ming is not anything close to a human. That is just a form that it wears because it can shapeshift into it. Its natural form is quite different.
I will say, I expect by the end of today to have a bunch of recruitment posters for Join Grand Cathay to have your government issued muscle mommy cat girl girlfriend on my desk by the end of the day. Thank you.
Okay, well, we all know what you want to have now.
Joe Miller, good morning, gents. Andy finally gets a decent starting time.
Yeah, it's not the middle of the evening stroke morning.
Corin Shiva, new popular light novel regarding that time Battle Beast reincarnated into the Warhammer fantasy world Vaughn ever chosen for the title of the strongest. Probably the easiest crossover you could ever do. Yep. Is it Battle Beast? Is it Rengar from League of Legends? Who knows? Vayer 7, where would you put her to start in the campaign map? I don't know.
Is she going to start in the campaign map?
Yeah, she's a legendary lord.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's no space there.
Yeah, I would be kind of surprised if they don't put her in the village of the Tigermen, which is a settlement.
Don't you?
Yeah, there's some space over there. Not a lot, but a little. Balthazar Gelt is relatively close to that area, but he's not right on top of it, so there's a little bit of leeway.
Of how many times I've played characters in and around that area just so I can kick Gelt in again. There's not a lot of space there.
Now they might add some new provinces, which would be great because they've got a ton of space they can open up around End. So we might get our first Mountains of Heaven province, which would be cool. But if I was going to throw a dart at the board right now, I would guess she's going to go in the village of the Tigermen.
I mean, yeah. It kind of has to, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little cramped, but it's not any worse than several other legendary lords. So, shrug.
Yeah. Seems likely.
Wibblewolf. Does that mean there is a Monkey King of End? So the Monkey King lives in the Mountains of Heaven. So he's between End and
Cathay.
We know a surprising amount about him. I would be shocked if his name doesn't end up being Sun Wukong. But because they can legally use that and still not get in trouble, so they probably will, because GW is trying. Who could be bothered? But he is a full-on character. Now we don't know what his relationship to End is yet. Ryan, big sneaky hats. Come on, Blittle Pop. Imagine. I still don't remember what the fuck Blittle Pop is.
I really have no idea what you're
I know we've been
about
over
here.
this before, and I don't remember.
Help! Help! I'm old.
I will say, though,
have you not seen the grey in my beard? You need to speak English.
Yeah, I will note that giant big hats can help you be sneaky, according to night goblins. So,
Is
like,
Blittle
Scars.
Pop a fisherman goddess, a D&D goddess.
That's a silly name for a goddess.
There we go.
It sounds like a children's toy commercial. Limper, GW's canon is the cats don't like birds. Genius. Yeah. You're not Zinch.
I just suddenly realized, you know what? I'm really glad you pointed that out, Limper, because I did not spot that at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like an idiot.
There's a very painful realization that literally could be the entire idea behind it.
Wow.
that wouldn't shock me. I'll put it that way.
Wouldn't shock me either.
That's like classic. That's like classic 4th, 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy writing right there.
The scales are peeling back from my eyes as I go, that seems altogether too likely.
Her being a white tiger of the West alludes to one of the 4 cardinal directional beasts of Chinese lore. And I saw your correction in a comment. Yeah. So the Azure Dragon is the East, Black Turtle is the North, and Vermilion Bird is the South, which does actually tie into everything we know about Grand Cathay, where the Azure Dragon East is Yin Yin, who is the Azure Dragon, the Sea Dragon. Black Turtle, the Black Dragon, is Yao Ming. It's interesting, Shangyang, the West.
Green.
Shangyang is the White Dragon, which all ties into the White Tiger, but now we have also the White Tiger. Shangyang definitely seems to hold white as a very, very significant color.
Or blue.
And then, of course, Vermilion being red. Plus, we have Vermilion Warbirds in Grand Cathay. Like, that's an actual creature that we're expecting to see added to the game at some point.
Yep.
Dominic Lynch, do you think of potential interaction with Ulrich and the Tiger God, White Wolf and White Tiger God?
That could be fun if handled well, but one feels it's very unlikely.
Yeah, I would expect you could have a fun little roleplay interaction where an Ulrich hears about a white tiger, like there's some mythical white tiger, and he's like, there's something significant there. And the Tiger Warriors are like, shut up, human.
There are correlations here because Ulrich, after all, Ulrichans believing the concept of Evernacht and the idea that chaos has come and they will sink the north into a freezing hellhole that never ends, a perpetual winter, because Ulrich is the god that faces off against chaos personally and will go up and fight in the north. The idea that if you believe that Ulrich is a real entity in the Warhammer world, much as the myths suggest, and has kids and goes to war with chaos every time, it means almost certainly the White Wolf and the White Tiger have warred shoulder to shoulder at some point. Okay, so by myth, the answer to that is yes.
The Callantier, this is Games Workshop. Only a matter of time till we get a Thundercats reference special character. I'm betting
Snarf. Wily Kit and Wily Cat. That'd be brilliant. I'd love that.
Honestly, they could probably find a cute way to slip that in somewhere, and I would not be upset if they snuck that in somewhere. Just don't make it.
If they call a character Tigra, I will not be impressed.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
Grimlock doesn't like that.
In the video I made covering this article, one of the things I talked about is I remember when one of the only things we had about End was they gave us this in 6th edition. They gave us this big world map of the Warhammer world. And at End, they have one spot marked, and it's the Eye of the Tiger.
It's the Eye of the Tiger. That's the theme.
That's all we got.
End.
That was End. At the end. Yep. Seth Hutchins. I just got to the part where Andy, without skipping a beat, says, maybe Zhao Ming and Bhashiva, fuck. I had to rewind that for context. You didn't need context. That was the context. Stephen Lucas, remind me of a Turnup 28 Battle Report 2 video misread domain cool post Turnup apocalyptic war game make your own dude game. What?
Oh, Stephen, I feel like I've almost got this. but I didn't
Steven,
quite.
Are you speaking in code? Is this like a sleeper agent activation phrase? Because that's what it reads like.
Somewhere the Winter Soldier wakes up. Must kill tigers.
Hieronymus, tiger dragons. That sounds like some Elder Scrolls thing down in Akavir.
It does.
You're not wrong. Mornington Crescent.
I think it's really likely that we have got ourselves dragon-blooded tigers. I'm going to call it now. And if they don't do that, it's a missed trick. Why not? Dragon-blooded Sugargan.
Mornington Crescent. Longma exists. Zhao Ming absolutely sleeps with any and all of his lords. Polycule of Shangyang confirmed.
Sentient ones?
Yeah,
maybe?
If memory serves, I believe the Longma, the Jade Longma, are an adjacent species to the dragons, not a direct descendant of the Celestial Dragon Emperor. I could be wrong, but like, granted, the Celestial Dragon Emperor could actually turn into a horse if he wanted to. So I guess. But
I mean, they're almost like classic Greek gods. You know, Zeus turning into a swan, having himself a kid with some woman who definitely wanted that kid.
Yeah, because I know they are a dragon-blooded species, so they are of the same class as the dragons, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're descended from the Celestial Dragon Emperor. They could be.
Maybe the Emperor just had to look at his horse and went, today's the day.
Yeah, he could have pulled a Loki. He could have.
On the other side, we got ourselves a Longma. Sorted.
Also, mine. Yes, I'm aware of Mornington Crescent. There is a reason for that. We'll talk about it later stream. Gnivel, dislike them being Old One creations, not Beastmen. It says legends say though, not it is just legends.
Yeah, so if you dislike it, there's enough space there for it not to be the case. I don't actively dislike it, but I think I prefer that there is a more chaotic origin than perhaps being an Old One creation would suggest. But each to their own.
John Miller, Yin Yin, the Queen of the Sea. I'm with you, Andy.
Yep.
Azure Shadow. So excited. I prefer Hish instead of Life for the Speaker.
I don't think that Hish is necessarily the best option, although they are marked as being anti-chaos, and Hish works really well for that. Hish is often deployed purely because it's often the wind that's most associated with holiness and cleanliness, and light in general. And yeah, it sort of fits, but I think the other three winds fit better for the general tone of how the Tiger Warriors are being deployed.
Yeah, I think one thing we'll kind of need to wait and see that I'm curious about is what Kamau is like. Like, what is he actually like? What is what are his traits? To really get into the, because Beasts and Shadows makes perfect sense for the magic part. Like, that's easy done. For the priest thing, I agree with Andy that I think people sometimes hear the word priest and they're like, oh, well, it's got to be light magic then, when that's not necessarily how it works. Like the idea that the Tiger Warriors expression of divinity is more akin to life magic and the renewal of natural life might make more sense for them based on how Kamau functions, but we don't know what he's really like yet.
Yep. Seems fair.
Biofoot. Ryan, Biofoot, don't be crazy. We'll never actually see crab dwarfs or clam rats. Ryan, during the reveal of the Tiger Warriors, which could never happen. Honestly, if you had gone to Ryan from like 2 or 3 years before Warhammer 3, if you had gone to me and been like, Cathay's going to be a thing, Tiger Warriors are going to be a thing, I'd be like, go fuck yourself, you're full of shit. How dare you get my hopes up? to be fair.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not that dissimilar on that front, because a few years ago, Warhammer was effectively dead. If we go just before the old world, before they were beginning to tout that they were doing it, if we go to that period and someone said to me, you know what, there's going to be Tiger Warriors and a whole bunch of new armies and new models and miniatures and all the rest, I'd be like, yeah, you're smoking something. That's never happening. Warhammer, as we said earlier, is in this almost glorious golden period where it's getting lots of cool new stuff, and it's also being gently revisioned into something that is arguably better. Now, sure, the old world has also had a bunch of stuff written into it that makes zero sense at all. I'm looking at how the Winds of Magic were handled in the very first book, for example, where you look at it and go, wait a minute, the Winds of Magic only existed afterwards? In black and white text, they're saying that is the case. I'm pretty sure that contradicts a whole ton of other stuff that you're not saying isn't also the case. This is weird. Sure, they added some let's call them mistakes. They're not mistakes. They're just different versions of the lore. And that's not what I would have preferred. But at the same point, more stuff's getting written. We're getting more awesomeness for our big pot of cool. So I'm happy, regardless of whether the lore is the best lore or the bit I like most. We are currently eating fine. There's loads of cool stuff out there.
Let's see. We've got Seth 45er, an Eastern Elemental. Metal is the one that goes through decay and renewal. So Zhao doing something heroic and decays from it and then being reborn from it is thematic for him and the Chinese element of metal.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is a funny parallel to a lot of very important Warhammer themes.
That's what I was thinking.
It's interesting to see how, and this is something me and Andy will have to do a stream on some point, of how Age of Sigmar has sort of altered the lore of metal in a lot of ways, where lore of metal GW now very heavily associates with like transition and alchemical process and like alteration in the flow of like one state to another, like the alternating states of matter. Because they tied it in very much to like, Tzeentch likes the realm of metal because it's the realm of change, because metal's about change. Which is, and that seems to be reflecting backwards into fantasy.
Yeah, this is often the case.
Yeah, which it's an interesting dynamic. This would be very interesting. It wouldn't be a bad thing. Dominic Lynch, off topic, Andy. Did you enjoy the War of Vengeance episode? I don't know if Andy had time to watch it. And Sotek, yes, dwarves did use the Shard Dragons in the war, Monstrous Arcanum. You're right. First return of these creatures in the light of the sun. Yes, I forget that's a quote in the Monstrous Arcanum book. Yes.
I was somewhat busy during the War of Vengeance episode. I have not watched it. I apologize to say, Dominic. I did very little at all that was work-related, stream-related, fun-related, or indeed anything other than tier-related through the course of January. So, sadly, no, I don't have a comment on this one.
From there, we got... Sean Schultz, is Yin Yin the stalker of Iceland? Is there another dragon kid? Ashland, whatever. Is there another dragon kid that supports him from the shadows but not publicly? So this is a funny relationship because if you go back and watch the Ashland episode, me and Andy joked very hard about. Actually, we weren't joking, to be completely honest. But we talked about there's a lot of different ways this relationship could play out that would be very fun. And
I quite liked some of the conclusions we came to. Could Yin Yin be the stalker of Ashland? If you want, it could be the same way and the other way around too. There's lots of different ways that it could be played if you wish to do so.
Yeah. I would. I love it personally. I think it makes Ashland. It adds a very unexpected dynamic to the character.
I just want to bring up Dominic. Sometimes you weren't rude. Don't worry. Not rude in the slightest. Particularly if you didn't know I had a somewhat turbulent January. I did. If anyone who doesn't know, there's no need to beat around the bush. My dad died in January. I had a very tough time. And I'm back now and just having fun online talking about cool Warhammer stuff. So don't feel bad at all because it wasn't your fault in the slightest.
Thank you for the support. We do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's appreciated.
So Jonathan says, so we might have a chance to have elephant people. I would be shocked if we do not have elephant people.
I had elephant people in my version of the Warhammer world that I ended back in about 2010. I blew up the Warhammer world before Warhammer did it. My big version of that had elephant people down from end and a whole bunch of other types of people from elsewhere too. I think it is not just a natural, but it's an obvious step for that area. But again, we'll see. Games Workshop often goes in directions we don't expect.
Yeah. But I would be genuinely willing to put money on the table against anyone that thinks that's not going to be a thing.
I mean, pretty cool, wouldn't it?
It would be pretty fucking cool.
Big, huge.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fascinating inspiration that they could take from.
It's so cool.
Yeah, if you've never looked up the figure Ganesh, you can look him up. The religious figure. Seth Fire. Fantasy has feeling is now second 40K. We beat him. We did it. We're the best. We're the best GW
best
setting.
Warhammer. We're the best
got
Warhammer.
Girls first.
The original Warhammer.
We did it. we won the only race that matters. Sales? Fuck them. Who cares? Necro Player. I'm thinking that she'll start in Shangyang, which has some cool enemies to fight around her. Also, Zhao Ming could have a unique quest to confederate her. I would have agreed with that if it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Ming starts super close to Shangyang, and his opening quest is go get Shangyang.
Yeah.
So I don't think she'll start there. She might, but I don't think she will. The village of the Tigerman's a little further removed. The Callantir, I hope there is some kind of Renauld Black Cat connection. Ulrich also fought the Cat Prince in the lore.
Well, I'm not sure that it's necessarily needed to tie everything new that's added to Warhammer to everything that's happening several thousand miles away in a different part of the world. Some things I do think are worth at least assessing. For example, as we discussed earlier, Ulrich and in his myths, wars against chaos in the north, and if you go with the Ulrican texts, he does it every time that chaos comes down. That's his job. He goes to war. He's the god of winter, war, and wolves. And apparently our white tiger does the same thing. So the chances of them meeting and potentially having some shared myths are exceedingly high, because once you go to the top of the world, everything gets close, really close. You're no longer looking at a map where it's on the other side of the map because it all connects at the top. They're just sitting a few hundred miles away from each other, fighting the same bad guys. And at some point, Ulrich, who goes all around the top of the world fighting, definitely would have encountered them during the thousands of years. So it makes sense.
Keep in mind, there's a whole thing in Total War Warhammer 3 where Zhao Ming, with complete confidence, when they're like, where's Shinzu? He comes out with his full chest and says, Urson knows. Like, we talk to Urson all the time. That fucker knows exactly where our sister is. He just won't tell
that's
us.
a line. The great haters of the gods just come straight out. Let's go talk to Urson.
Like, he's just not talking to us because he's a bitch. That's all.
No.
Hannibal. Tigermen sound very Sanghili coded to me. Hype. I don't know what Sanghili are. That sounds very familiar.
Halo, isn't it? That's Halo, isn't it? That's
yes.
Ones with the,
yes. Yeah.
I have not played a lot of Halo, though, so I played it back when it was released each time and then forgot most of the stuff.
Can't say that. You're going to get us in trouble. You're going to get us in trouble with people. Can't say that these days.
I don't play Halo. Why, you're not allowed to play Halo?
No. It's that if you haven't, people will expect you and demand that you do.
No, I've played it. I just haven't played it for a long time.
Like, I know people that are going to show up in our DMs now and be like, play it on stream, play it on stream, play it on stream. But so that gets us all caught up with...
Are we caught up? There we go.
Yes, we're caught up. So, I think I already thanked you, but I'm going to do it again just to be safe. Azarias, thank you again for the tier 1 sub, and Listlord Chris, thank you. Also, Speed Froggy. I'm not convinced that I caught those 3, so I'm just doing it again. But thank you all so much for joining us. This was not a planned stream. We saw it and we were like, fuck it.
Let's go. Why not? And I do have a conclusion in this one, and that is more, please. More of the good stuff. Now, I don't just mean churn out more shit because we want more content. We always want more content, sure, but we want it to be good content. And often what we get isn't all that good. It's just functional, and we sort of talk it up. We're like, we like this, and then we go on to the next thing. This is a stream that I think, if you haven't watched it from the beginning, do go back to the beginning. This is a stream where I think as you go through the material that's been added with just a few short paragraphs, it adds an extraordinary amount of depth to Cathay that was simply missing. Missing both in terms of the Total War version, which was already a pretty in-depth version, and also the Old World version, which is a far more focused version, but also with the army list. They're not called army list. What are they called again in the Old World? They're little
Arcane Journals.
Books. Thank you, the Arcane Journals. In the Arcane Journals, it's a very focused type of a reflection of what Cathay might be like, where it's basically Cathay is perfect. It's no gods there at all. Everyone works together in harmony, and everything's great. And sure, there's some rebellions that happened out there once, but they were stupid. Where this, with its basic conclusion, puts a nonsense to so much of the controlled Cathay that's in perfect harmony without gods version, and I think that's good. And it's really good. So more of this, and I'll be super, super happy.
Yeah, this is the kind of shit we want to see. And Grant, go watch me and Andy's breakdown of the Arcane Journal, and we point out that it's so hilariously, obviously propaganda, but doesn't use the propaganda voice, which is really weird. Because Total War, which is all approved lore that Games Workshop and then made together, the Total War lore is like, yeah, no, the Arcane Journal is full of shit. This is great stuff. I'm very pleased with this. I think they struck that perfect balance. Me and Andy have talked about this in the past. They struck the perfect balance between giving us facts and giving us myths and potential truths. But they left it fuzzy enough that we could play with it.
Yeah. Now, sometimes it's left fuzzy so that they can tell the tale they want to tell and still get it approved. Because sometimes the tale they want to tell wouldn't get approved by Games Workshop because it goes against some obscure, unexpected something that they would prefer wouldn't happen. So they instead say, well, how about we say they believe this is the case? And they go, yeah, that's fine. Away you go. Because if they believe it, that doesn't mean it's true. Away you go. But sometimes it's because they're writing good lore that leaves doors open for later writers to pick up those pieces and then turn them into something else. I think this is a good example of adding new lore to the setting. And again, I will add one more time an apology for calling them Tiger Men at the beginning. I swore I read that at the beginning, and clearly I skimmed that article far too quickly. So apologies to Creative Assembly for saying that at the beginning.
Bear 7, would Archaon be aware of the White Tiger, and how do you think he would deal with them? The White Tiger seems really strong if they attack him directly. Our Everchosens are kind of cracked, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're big, scary motherfuckers, and just getting to them is a nightmare.
Becoming one is a nightmare.
Yeah, becoming was a nightmare.
And to become an Everchosen, you basically got to challenge a greater demon of one of the gods at some point and take it out so that you can get the next
Keep in mind, Archaon canonically...
A greater demon.
Canonically, according to him, not just his Black Library book, but all of his other books, Archaon chokes out a bloodthirster with its own whip. Like, he's terrifying.
Yeah. So whilst, yes, the White Tiger is really pretty dang strong, an Everchosen that's successful has already fought through things that make the White Tiger look like yet another Sunday.
Yeah.
So
now, I will say, I would be so thrilled if we get a lore note about an unknown prior Everchosen that was successfully killed by a White Tiger, because if that happened, that would exist as like a saga that every Everchosen that comes afterwards would be very wary of. Like, if they saw a White Tiger coming for them on the battlefield, they would go, "This might be it." Like, this is a challenge the gods are literally throwing in my face.
And some Everchosen would see that as the best thing possible to prove themselves that they are worthy of the title they've already claimed, where it's very possible that one of them might not be that guy, but one presumes that if they were the one that was afraid, probably in the wrong job.
Yeah. Also, hey, Games Workshop, if you want to use our version of Shirian for one of your Everchosens, she's right there. She's right
wild.
there.
Yeah, that was the stream that went places.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. And with that, we are done. We hope y'all enjoyed the little bonus stream for today. Don't expect these often, unless like they drop some other giant bombshell, which could happen, but probably won't for a bit. Hopefully do consider please turning into the Lorebeards roleplay show that will be later today. It starts at about 5 hours,
something like that
ish. So do consider joining Vera and Ross for that. I don't recall what they're talking about today, but the lobby will be up in just a little bit. We will see y'all. Me and Andy will see y'all tomorrow for wrapping up. What if Marathi had founded the colleges of magic? Should be a good time. we got vampire
right at the end.
We got vampire Yuri on the menu.
Making us stay longer.
That piece of shit, Krim Gelto. Look at him with his dumb combined Davy Jones, Kermit the Frog, Balthazar Gal face. Sending good vibes through the warp for a change. The white tiger is one of the 4 great beasts of China. What could this mean for turtles and bird?
Possibly
Actually,
good.
Yeah, possibly some very interesting things. I have a hard time imagining the black turtle of the north, because I feel like if they were going to do a turtle, it'd probably be a turtle dragon, which is a very, very popular Chinese mythological creature. But that would be more of an Eastern thing. And like the Azure dragon is literally just, so it could be that there is a black tortoise of note, and it might just be a big dragon turtle that maybe comes out of the ocean or one of the celestial riverlands. Who could say?
I just want to bring up this comment before you bring up Biofoot's one because it made me laugh. Warrington Crescent goes, also, please check the Lorebeard Warhammer forum. I'll hot link. White tiger spotted an old art. I'm so going to say, basically, go check it yourself. Go jump into our forums on Discord and go take a look yourself.
Please. Oh my God. I would love more. Someone needs to just make a saga of like Where's Waldo's with the white tiger just randomly interspersed all the artwork. That's very funny. Oh, that would make sense. If the black turtle lived in the Dragon River,
I could cross it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh,
that would be fucking sick.
That'd be sick. I like that.
Do that.
Nice one, great good ideas. I like that one.
Yeah, I would expect Talion the Merciless will be the free LCE legendary hero. That seems likely, and I'm interested to learn more about him. All right. Thank you all so much for
you missed the last super chat from Biofoot.
No, I didn't. Craft Dwarves, Clam Rats on the horizon. Clam Rat sounds like an STD. Anyway, hope you all have
no!
I'm gonna
imagining them. Why would you do this to me?
I'm gonna go back to bed. Andy's gonna go do whatever Andy's gonna do. Thank you all so much for joining us. We had a shitload of y'all here today to hang out. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Hopefully.
See you then. Right, bye-bye.